What's up, Cougar, Big 12, and all college football fans alike? This is Saturday's Warrior. And today, because BYU is on a bye week, we're not going to be doing our regular segment of Know the Foe, where we interview people from the opponent's side to get to know our weekly opponent. So this week, like I said, we're doing power rankings, going to compare with our preseason rankings and how it stacks up and where we're wrong and how things have shifted in the conference. And if you like power rankings, they do seem all the rage right now. Let us know in the comments if you want us to keep doing power rankings and we can bust these out each week. We'll probably do it earlier in the week and get a similar segment going. So yeah, like the video and subscribe, and please let us know in the comments if it's something you want to see more. Anyway, so let's take a look at what our current power rankings are. All right, before we take a look at our current power rankings, here were our preseason predictions. This was pretty in line for the most part with what a lot of other people were putting out. And truthfully, a lot of my opinion was based on what I was hearing. I'm still getting to know a lot of these teams. And so, I have to admit, I got caught up in a lot of the hype in terms of teams like Texas Tech, and was really down on West Virginia and some of these other schools. Oklahoma State got the benefit of the doubt. So anyway, this is where we were. I think the only one I was really out of lockstep for the most part with mainstream was OU. I felt like they were getting a little too much hype. It seems that maybe the hype is on. Well, we'll get into it, but they've got a easy enough schedule that they could capitalize on it. The 8-4 is probably maybe where they are as quality team. It's yet to see, but I think that they will outperform that easily due to the ease of their schedule. But let's take a look at our power rankings right now. No surprise to anybody. Texas is in at number 1. It looks like they're going to continue to be the strongest team, unfortunately, in their final season in the Big 12. And it's hard to see where they could slip up. I still think there's a good chance someone will surprise them. They do seem to be playing with their food a little bit. Games are often pretty close into the second half, often the fourth quarter where they turn it on. And so you'd like to see them kind of put games away earlier. But on the other hand, it also shows a sign of a quality team that their depth and their quality, or that they can turn it on into another gear, whatever it is allowing them to really pull away late. And so this weekend is going to be telling. We'll see how the matchup goes with OU, but I think they'll continue to be in this top spot next week. At number 2, we have OU. And I should point out that these arrows are not up from based on where they may have been last week. I haven't done power rankings until or since the preseason, and so really this is up from where they were in my preseason rankings. Otherwise, they probably would have been hanging out at number 2 already. But so they are up. I already spoke about OU, so I won't get more into that. Number 3, I have Kansas State. And I know that they lost that close one to Mizzou, and they're still undefeated. We'll see how they do this weekend against LSU. And they played a close one against UCF, but I don't think UCF is a bad team. I still think K-State is the third best team. Not going to punish them for being off on a bye week, and I think that they should have an easy one ahead of them. Tonight I'm recording on Friday against OSU, so I think they will again continue to be in that top 3. At number 4, we have West Virginia, and they've surprised everybody. I'm not saying they're necessarily the 4th best team in the Big 12, but they've definitely moved up in the power rankings, and they've earned a spot up at the top because right now they just keep finding ways to win, and they've shown that they are a tough out and that they are gritty even when they're not necessarily the most talented. And so you really got to give them credit. They are up right now. I think at some point it might settle a little bit, but they do have their schedule is lined up for them to continue to rattle off several wins. So I don't expect them to walk through the rest of the Big 12 unscathed, but they look poised to pick up several more wins, including one against my Cougars, which is in Morgantown. And so they are looking good right now. So you got to give them props. At 5, we have Kansas, and they did take a beating against Texas, even though it was relatively close through a lot of the game. Again, Jalen Daniels was out. I think when he's in, they're a different team, and so we'll see. If he's able to get healthy. I don't think he's expected to play this week, or maybe I'm misspeaking. But anyway, I think when he's in, they definitely deserve to be up there. But based on how everybody else is doing, I don't know who else I would put ahead of them. And I still expect them to do pretty well in the Big 12. TCU is down, and that's not to say I don't think that they're good. I think they're very good, but they did take that loss to West Virginia. They let they let that one go, and in many ways, they are on paper the better team and should have been able to win that one. So anyway, they are down, but I expect them to continue to. I think we'll see more from them. I don't think they're out just yet, but at the moment, that was a tough loss, one that they felt like they kind of needed. And then at number 7, I've got BYU. I think this is a fair place right now. They have an out of conference win over a decent SEC team, and they played Kansas close and won their first Big 12 game ever against Cincy. And while Cincy is not at the top of the Big 12, they did win, and they continue to find ways to win. And next week against TCU, I think will be telling for both teams, and we'll see how that shifts. But for now, I think BYU's earned their spot in the top half of the league. And then now at the bottom half of the league, we have UCF, and I think they're better than this. That they played Kansas State close. There's no shame in that loss. Letting Baylor come back the way they did, that is embarrassing. That's got to be incredibly frustrating. Baylor is a bottom dweller in the league this year, and that was your chance to get your first Big 12 win at home, and you're leading, and you just fall apart. And so you got to leave them. But this is actually right where I had them in my preseason rankings, which is why they stay even there. Now, Texas Tech, I had them at number 2. I had them getting into the conference championship. I was buying into all the hype, except that they've shown that they've fallen flat. Although I will say their losses are not terrible. They went to Laramie and they got caught, against a pretty good team on their home turf at the beginning of the season. It's not great, but it's somewhat excusable. The loss to Oregon was they let that one slip away. Oregon's a good team, and they played them tough. So they have some losses that aren't terrible, and so their record, I think, makes them look worse than they are. They took care of business against Houston, so they are down from where I had them at the beginning of the season, but they're probably up from where they were last week, just because they did handle things against Houston. So they're definitely not where we'd expect them to be, but I still think there's a chance for them to right the ship and get back into that top half of the conference. But first, before anything, they got to take care of business this weekend against Baylor. All right, so now we have Iowa State, and so at 10, and so they are up from where I thought they'd be at the beginning of the season. They've shown that they are a tough out, but we'll see how long that lasts. They can only ride that defense for so long, and they've shown that against Oklahoma that they can give up points. So. But the good news for them is that they're outperforming the very low expectations that were set for them. Cincy, they I think have shown that they are better than I was giving them credit. I thought they lost a lot of players, new coaching staff, that they would not do well at all. But they've beat Pitt, who may not be as good as we were expecting. They played BYU pretty well, so I think that they're ahead of these next few teams. Next, we have Baylor. Definitely down from where I had them at the beginning of the season, but up from last week after that incredible comeback surprise win. And again, they got that test against Texas Tech. Which one of these teams is going to keep their momentum going? We will see this week in what I've heard deemed the Butt Bowl. So good luck to both those teams. We'll see who really is going to be able to change that narrative, flip that narrative for the season. And then we have Houston up from where I had them at the beginning of the season, the bottom spot. They have not played well. They've had some bad losses, but they've also shown that they can, fight, that they have their moments, I guess, is what I want to say. Whereas the next team, the last team, obviously Oklahoma State, I have not seen them really have any moments. The struggles that they've had, they just look completely discombobulated and really have no plan on how to proceed going forward. And so for me, I think they're at the bottom. We will see if they're able to turn that around or prove me wrong. But I just think, Houston has at least shown some signs of life. Oklahoma State, I have no idea what's going on there. So those are our week 5 power rankings. If you want to see more power rankings, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can see them. But let us know in the comments and we can continue doing these segments. And let us know also where you agree and disagree with our power rankings, and let us know your power rankings down below. I want to keep that conversation going. And as always, thanks for joining us, and go Cougs.